Important message. If you're serious about living to 100 and beyond, your diet will either be your greatest weapon or your slowest killer. The United States, Canada, United Kingdom, and Australia all struggle with chronic diseases that could be delayed or completely prevented with the right nutrition. These top 10 foods aren't just good, they're foundational if you want your heart beating strong into your 90s and 100s. It starts with beans. And yes, that might sound too simple, but the truth is overwhelming. People in the blue zones especially, in regions like Okinawa or Loma Linda, where a surprising number of people live past 100, eat beans every single day. We're talking about black beans, lentils, chickpeas, fava beans, and navy beans, foods that are packed with plant-based protein, fiber, and slow-digesting carbohydrates. This combination helps stabilize blood sugar, reduces cholesterol, and supports gut health by feeding beneficial gut bacteria. In the United States, fiber intake is embarrassingly low, yet beans offer a deeply healing form of dietary fiber that cleans your gut, lowers inflammation, and actually regulates your immune system. People across Canada and the UK are waking up to this fact, but in the US, most still favor animal protein without understanding the long-term cost to cardiovascular health. There are older Americans alive today who survived heart disease scares in their 60s or 70s simply by switching to a bean-rich diet. Some even reversed their type 2 diabetes. It's not just food, it's medicine that's cheap, accessible, and vastly underutilized. The second food is cruciferous vegetables: broccoli, kale, cauliflower, Brussels sprouts, and cabbage. These vegetables contain powerful compounds like sulforaphane, which has been shown in multiple studies to reduce cancer risk, especially breast and prostate cancer, which continue to be some of the most common causes of premature death in both men and women in the United States and Australia. What's incredible is how these vegetables can actually switch on protective genes and detoxification enzymes in your liver. People think detox comes in a bottle or some trendy juice, but the truth is, your liver detox is best when it's supported by real whole foods, especially cruciferous ones. One retired nurse in Canada, age 97, eats steamed broccoli and kale every day, saying it's the reason she never got the cancer that took her sisters. These vegetables also support heart health by lowering oxidative LDL and reducing chronic inflammation, which the CDC has called the silent killer behind almost every degenerative disease. The bitter taste that makes some avoid them? That's exactly where the healing compounds are. In America, food has become too focused on comfort, sugar, salt, and fat. But if you want to live beyond 100, discomfort is a signal you're eating the right things. Third on the list is nuts, particularly walnuts, almonds, pistachios, and macadamia nuts. People often avoid nuts due to fat content, but this is the kind of fat that your heart, brain, and cells are literally craving. Omega-3 fatty acids from walnuts, arginine from almonds, and healthy monounsaturated fats from macadamias all help lower blood pressure, reduce triglycerides, and improve overall cardiovascular function. In the US, heart disease remains the #1 killer, and countless Americans could reduce their risk by simply adding a small handful of nuts to their diet every day. In a massive study called the Adventist Health Study, participants who ate nuts at least 5 times a week had a 39% lower risk of dying from heart disease. These weren't vegans or health influencers, just regular people who understood that small, consistent dietary choices make all the difference. Nut consumption has also been linked to better cognitive aging. Dementia and Alzheimer's are cruel diseases that take away everything that makes you, you. Healthy fats protect the brain's structure and function, and this effect becomes more critical with each passing year. In Australia and the UK, nut butters are gaining popularity as snack options. But the real magic is in raw or lightly roasted whole nuts, unsalted, unprocessed, in their most natural form. Every bite is like investing in your future clarity, memory, and independence. investing in your future clarity, memory, and independence. The fourth food might surprise you: sweet potatoes. In Okinawa, one of the longest-living populations on Earth, sweet potatoes were once 70% of their entire diet. This isn't the sugary, marshmallow-topped version that shows up on U.S. Thanksgiving tables. We're talking about purple or orange sweet potatoes, steamed or baked, packed with antioxidants like beta-carotene, complex carbohydrates, and fiber. Sweet potatoes are among the most nutrient-dense carbs on the planet. They fuel your brain and muscles steadily without the blood sugar spikes that regular white potatoes or processed grains can cause. In the United States, where diabetes is affecting younger and younger people every year, sweet potatoes could be a game changer. Some people still fear carbs, not realizing that the type of carbohydrate is what matters. These are slow-digesting, anti-inflammatory, and filled with anthocyanins, especially in purple varieties, which are being studied for their ability to protect brain cells and reduce oxidative stress. Sweet potatoes also support immune function and eye health, two things that deteriorate sharply in aging populations. There are countless stories of elders in Canada or the UK who swap out their white bread or white rice for sweet potatoes and experience better blood sugar control within weeks. One man from Melbourne, age 88, with a long history of high A1C levels, saw normalization after changing just this one part of his diet. It's not a miracle. It's science meeting consistency. Fermented foods take the fifth spot, and this is where most modern Western diets fall dangerously short. Kimchi, sauerkraut, miso, tempeh, kefir. These foods are alive with beneficial bacteria that restore balance to the gut microbiome. In the United States, dysbiosis, or microbial imbalance, in the gut is contributing to everything from autoimmune disease to obesity to chronic depression. Scientists now believe the gut-brain axis is a major determinant in long-term mental health, memory retention, and even emotional regulation. Americans struggling with anxiety, fatigue, or inflammation might not even realize it starts with the bacteria inside them. Fermented foods reintroduce essential microbes that modern diets and antibiotics have destroyed. In the UK and Canada, more people are now turning to kombucha and probiotic-rich yogurt. But again, quality matters. Choose versions without added sugars, artificial flavors, or pasteurization that kills the active cultures. In traditional diets, fermented foods were a daily staple, not an occasional luxury. A 101-year-old woman in California attributed her gut health and strong digestion to the daily sauerkraut her mother taught her to make from scratch. These foods can also help the absorption of nutrients like B vitamins, iron, and calcium, vital components that determine whether your body thrives or deteriorates with age. The older you get, the less efficient your digestion becomes, making fermented foods not optional but absolutely essential. The sixth food is berries, especially blueberries, blackberries, raspberries, and strawberries. These are antioxidant powerhouses that reduce oxidative stress, protect the brain from age-related damage, and support healthy blood vessels. Studies in the United States have repeatedly linked berry consumption to better memory, faster cognitive processing, and reduced risk of Alzheimer's. The USDA even classifies blueberries as one of the most potent antioxidant foods in the world. In one long-term study, older adults who ate blueberries regularly delayed cognitive decline by more than 2 years. That's not hype. That's real science showing you can slow brain aging with food. In the United Kingdom, where dementia has become a leading cause of death, nutritionists are urging people to move beyond the standard tea and toast diet that dominates in older generations. In Canada and Australia, dietitians are recommending frozen berries as a budget-friendly alternative, since they maintain most of their antioxidant value. It's not about whether you like berries, it's about whether you value your mental sharpness, your independence, and your memories. Some Americans spend hundreds of dollars a month on supplements promising brain support when a simple bowl of organic berries could do more than any capsule ever will. The natural compounds in berries like anthocyanins not only reduce brain inflammation, but also improve blood flow to the hippocampus, which is critical for memory and learning. People don't think about these things until they start forgetting names, getting lost, or losing their ability to focus. But by then, prevention is much harder. Start now. The seventh food that truly sets apart those who live past 100 is olive oil. But not just any olive oil. It must be cold-pressed, extra virgin, and ideally consumed raw. In the United States, olive oil is often misunderstood, with many people still cooking it at high heat or buying low-quality versions stripped of antioxidants. This oil is the foundation of the Mediterranean diet, known for lowering the risk of heart attacks, strokes, and age-related cognitive decline. In the regions of southern Italy, Greece, and even parts of Spain, where centenarians are common, olive oil isn't used sparingly. It's consumed daily and abundantly. Studies have shown that people who replace butter or margarine with olive oil lower their risk of dying from cardiovascular disease by up to 19%. That is a powerful statistic considering how heart attacks are still the #1 killer in the United States. In Canada and Australia, olive oil is gaining traction, especially among younger health-conscious generations. But many older adults in these countries are still using outdated fats, canola oil, vegetable blends, margarine, without understanding the inflammatory damage they cause over decades. Olive oil contains polyphenols, especially oleocanthal, which acts as a natural anti-inflammatory agent, working similarly to ibuprofen in reducing chronic pain and inflammation. This is critical as chronic inflammation is a core driver of everything, from arthritis to atherosclerosis to neurodegenerative disease. A 95-year-old man in rural Greece who walks 2 miles daily and works in his garden attributes his health to the 4 tablespoons of olive oil he consumes daily, on bread, vegetables, and beans. Americans need to stop fearing fat and start understanding which fats heal. Olive oil, when pure and unrefined, is liquid gold for longevity. Eighth is turmeric, a root that's been used medicinally for thousands of years, but only recently started, gaining recognition in the United States and the United Kingdom for its powerful effects on inflammation and aging. The active compound in turmeric, curcumin, has been shown in numerous clinical trials to reduce inflammation at the cellular level, improve brain function, and potentially delay the onset of diseases like Alzheimer's. Chronic inflammation is often silent, but over time, it destroys tissues, damages blood vessels, and accelerates every known sign of aging. Americans dealing with joint pain, memory issues, fatigue, or autoimmune conditions may not realize that turmeric, when consumed with black pepper to enhance absorption, could slow down or even reverse some of their symptoms. In Canada, integrative physicians now often recommend turmeric supplements to patients with arthritis or inflammatory bowel disease. But the real benefit comes when turmeric becomes part of daily food, not just pills. In Okinawa, where many live into their 100s without ever seeing a nursing home, turmeric tea is consumed daily. That habit alone may explain their shockingly low rates of dementia. A woman in Australia, aged 90, who had struggled with arthritis for over 30 years, experienced near-total pain relief after 6 months of daily turmeric lattes and joint-friendly movement. Turmeric also supports liver function, which becomes increasingly vital as you age and your body struggles to clear toxins. People think liver damage only happens from alcohol or drugs, but in reality, it's what you eat every day that makes or breaks liver health. Turmeric is one of the only natural substances shown to regenerate liver tissue, making it an essential food for anyone who values their long-term resilience. Ninth is dark leafy greens, spinach, Swiss chard, arugula, dandelion greens, collards, and even beet greens. In the United States, these foods are consumed far less than they should be, often replaced by iceberg lettuce or processed salads with sugary dressings. But dark greens are critical if you want to live past 100, especially for brain and vascular health. They're rich in folate, lutein, vitamin K, and nitrates that support optimal blood flow and arterial flexibility. In a massive study published by Neurology, researchers found that older adults who ate at least one serving of leafy greens daily had brains 11 years younger than those who didn't. That's not a small difference. That's the difference between needing care in your late 70s or living independently well into your 90s. In Australia, where rates of heart disease are high in rural communities, programs are now teaching older residents how to grow and consume their own greens, seeing impressive results in blood pressure reduction and energy. In the UK, NHS dietitians are now recommending greens as one of the top dietary interventions for people recovering from strokes or battling cognitive decline. Leafy greens are also packed with magnesium, a mineral that helps regulate blood, sugar, and reduce anxiety, something millions in the US are silently battling without knowing it's connected to diet. One former school teacher in Ohio, age 102, credits her sharp mind and strong legs to the giant spinach salad she's eaten nearly every day since her 50s. When asked about supplements, she laughs and says, "I don't need pills, I eat plants." That mindset is missing in too many American homes. Greens don't just feed your body. They preserve your independence, your vitality, and your clarity. The 10th food that cannot be ignored if you're aiming to reach 100 or beyond is wild-caught fatty fish, especially salmon, sardines, and mackerel. These fish are rich in omega-3 fatty acids, particularly EPA and DHA, which are essential for brain function, reducing inflammation, and keeping arteries supple and clear of dangerous plaque. In the United States, the average omega-3 intake is dangerously low, especially among aging populations, and this has been linked to increased risk of depression, dementia, and cardiovascular disease. Meanwhile, in coastal areas of Canada and the UK, where fish is still regularly consumed, people tend to live longer with fewer cognitive issues. In one long-term study out of Harvard, participants who ate fatty fish at least twice per week had a 35% lower risk of dying from heart disease. That's not a coincidence. That's a biological response to deep cellular nourishment. Fatty fish also support eye health and help preserve vision, something that often deteriorates rapidly in the 70s and 80s. A Vietnam veteran from Florida, age 99, eats grilled salmon every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. He says it helps his memory and joints, and his blood tests back it up. Low triglycerides, high HDL, and excellent inflammatory markers. But you need to choose wild-caught, because farm-raised fish in the US are often contaminated with harmful fats and lower omega-3 content. In Australia, nutritionists warn against imported, heavily processed fish products that don't deliver the same benefits. Sardines and mackerel, often overlooked, are also incredibly powerful, rich in calcium, selenium, and vitamin D, which older adults are often deficient in. People think fish is expensive, but canned wild sardines or frozen wild salmon can be cheaper than red meat and exponentially better for your health. There's a reason why these 10 foods keep coming up in longevity studies, and it's not because of trends, fads, or sponsored research. It's because human biology responds predictably to nutrient density, anti-inflammatory compounds, and consistent nourishment over decades. The tragedy is that most people in the United States are not dying because of genetics or bad luck. They're dying because of diet. Look around any grocery store in America. Aisles full of ultra-processed foods, sugar-laden snacks, industrial, seed oils, and meat products packed with sodium nitrate and synthetic additives. That's the normal diet for tens of millions, and it's exactly what drives heart disease, cancer, stroke, diabetes, and Alzheimer's. Diseases that rob people of not just years, but their identity, memory, freedom, and dignity. Living past. 100 isn't about reaching some mythical number. It's about getting there with your mind sharp, your body mobile, and your life still full of purpose. And food is the single most powerful tool you have. Think about the people you know who are in their 80s or 90s. Are they thriving or are they surviving? Are they still independent, able to walk, cook, remember conversations, laugh without pain, or are they dependent on others for everything, locked into cycles of prescriptions, surgeries, and hospital stays? It doesn't have to be that way. In the United Kingdom, one hospital study revealed that nearly 60% of elderly patients admitted for chronic illness were also malnourished or eating less than 2 servings of vegetables per day. In Canada, many long-term care homes are feeding seniors processed food with barely any fresh produce, fish, or legumes, yet wondering why memory and muscle mass deteriorate so rapidly. Australia faces similar patterns in its aging population, where loneliness, sedentary lifestyles, and poor diets combine into a dangerous cocktail. The data is screaming for change, but few are listening. The United States has normalized medication as the first step instead of food. But if your blood pressure is high, if your cholesterol is rising, if your joints ache, or if your energy is crashing, it's not a deficiency in pharmaceuticals. It's a deficiency in nutrients that your body needs to function and heal. Beans can regulate blood sugar better than some diabetes medications. Leafy greens reduce arterial stiffness more effectively than many statins. Turmeric fights inflammation without destroying your gut like NSAIDs do. Olive oil nourishes your heart while margarine slowly poisons it. These aren't small differences. These are life-altering shifts. But people have to make the choice, daily, consistently, for years. The emotional cost of ignoring diet is massive. A daughter watching her mother forget her name. A husband feeding his wife who can no longer move her hands. An elderly man falling in the shower because his legs no longer support him. These are not just random tragedies. They are often the predictable outcome of decades of nutrient neglect. People fear cancer but keep eating food that fuels it. They fear dementia but avoid berries, nuts, and greens that protect the brain. The irony is heartbreaking. In America, the cost of chronic disease exceeds $4 trillion annually, and yet the average adult consumes less than 2 servings of vegetables per day. That disconnect is killing people slowly. Imagine how many lives could be changed, extended, and enriched if every meal became an act of self-preservation instead of self-destruction. And we're not just talking about adding years. We're talking about the quality of those years. In the blue zones, people don't just live longer. They live better. They remain active, involved, and respected in their communities. Food is not just fuel. It's connection, celebration, and healing. A 101-year-old woman in the U.S. who gardens, cooks from scratch, and hosts Sunday dinners said her secret isn't some superfood, it's consistency. Every day she eats her beans, her greens, her fish, her olive oil. No excuses, no shortcuts. She never bought into the idea that fast food saves time, because what's the point of saving time if you spend your last decade in pain, confusion, or a hospital bed? Some people say they don't have time to cook, but that same person might spend 2 hours a night watching television. Some say healthy food is expensive, but they spend hundreds every month on supplements, fast food, takeout, and medications. The real question isn't whether you can afford to eat like this, it's whether you can afford not to. Because the cost of not eating this way is your future, your independence, your identity. In the United States, Medicare is drowning under the weight of diet-driven disease. But the solution is sitting in your grocery cart. Lentils instead of deli meat, salmon instead of fried chicken, broccoli instead of chips. These changes are simple, but they're not easy, because they go against decades of marketing, habits, and misinformation. But the people who break that cycle, who say no to processed convenience and yes to vibrant, healing food, they're the ones walking at age 95. They're the ones remembering birthdays at 101. They're the ones still waking up with purpose.